Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. I'm hoping you guys are all having a fantastic day. So in today's video, as you can tell by the title, we'll be talking about this growing threat for a very large potential winter storm slash blizzard across the northwestern United States and southwestern Canada. But I will also be going over a potentially devastating flooding threat across the southwestern United States. And then additionally, a massive nor'easter that will be impacting portions of the northeast with a lot of rain, winds, and really strong waves. Really high waves, I should say. So this is going to be a trifecta of everything. We went from a really calm, peaceful pattern across much of the U.S. during September to an absolute blitzkrieg of weather. And additionally, following all of these systems, there looks like there will be yet another winter storm probably brewing across very similar areas of the United States, but a little further east a few days afterwards. So a lot of stuff to talk about. So as with all my videos, the timestamp of when the map that I'm currently showing is taking place is situated at the very top right corner. So because there's going to be so much to talk about, I kind of will struggle to keep everything updated in line. So if you want to see when something is going on that I'm talking about, look at the top right corner and you will see the timestamp. So I'm starting off right now at October 8th, which is the current time when I'm recording this video. I don't know when you will be watching this video, but this is the current time. Let's put this forward because right now, even right now, it still looks very peaceful across pretty much the whole entire United States. And it won't be this peaceful for a very long time again. Notice that what we first kind of catches the eye is a tropical storm, a hurricane, a typhoon, whatever you want to call it, across the west there. It doesn't really pose any direct impact in terms of an actual tropical system for the Southwest or even Mexico. But what it does do is the moisture. It transports a lot of moisture into the southwestern United States and into Mexico, and this allows a lot of rain and potentially flooding rain to fester across the southwest. Now, at the same exact time, we also have a system brewing across the southeast, which the impacts of will be felt across Florida at first before it moves up and develops into a large system. And there's a very strong high pressure across the northeast, which is keeping this system to the south, as high pressure spin clockwise, kind of like a clock, right? That's why the name's clockwise. It keeps the system from moving up north for a while, exaggerating the rainfall amounts. And also notice, I know there's so many pieces, and also notice that across the west, we have the actual kind of northern ingredient for this blizzard, potentially moving in around tomorrow, or I should say around Friday, around 1 p.m. So notice that as I put this forward, it still looks as if, maybe nothing will happen. Maybe these will all just kind of fall apart. But unfortunately, that doesn't seem to be the case. First off, we see the system explode across the southeast, develop into a very powerful storm with very heavy rainfall. And you'll see that continues to do so for quite a while. Also, we see the rain that has festered across the southwest kind of start intensifying. And then we have the northern piece bringing a cold front behind it, which allows some of this colder air to interact with this moisture that is also being transported by an extreme strong southwesterly flow, which essentially sets us up with the perfect ingredients for a powerful early season winter storm slash blizzard. Notice that as I play this forward into the day, this is now getting into Sunday, October 12th, we see everything falling into peace, all the chaos, right? So the southwest beginning to really, really, really intensify in terms of the impacts from that system. The rainfall not only being intense, but just not moving. It's just going to be sitting there. Across the northeast, we see very heavy rain impacting very populous areas across the United States here with strong wind, very heavy rainfall, and large waves for the coastal areas. Additionally, we have this monster developing across the northwestern United States and southwestern Canada, where we see very heavy snow across the mountain ranges of the Uinta, the Wasatch, the Ozarka in Wyoming. And we continue to see the intensification of this system as I push this into Sunday during the day. You could see that some of these bands now or some of these colors are really dark blue, which indicates extremely heavy snowfall rates. The 990 millibars of pressure continues to fall, and because of this, how far north this is occurring, that cold air is pretty ample and it refuses to move, and the winds behind us will be very strong. Would not be surprised again to see some localized blizzard conditions here with that. And then notice that on the map we have just pure chaos, as I mentioned, going on. We have a massive winter storm going up on here, which again, the details are still uncertain where the exact track of this will be. We have that northeast bomb cyclone. I call it that. It's not actually going to be a bomb bomb cyclone, but this monster that is going to be developing with just rain, not snow, and then again the flooding across the southwestern United States. And as I put this into Monday, we see that system across Saskatchewan. Again, it's seemingly now the models are targeting central Saskatchewan with the heaviest of the snow kind of dwindling away. We see the northeast system also dwindling away, and then the southwest also experiencing a lull in activity. But as I mentioned, there could be yet another system right on the heels of that one, potentially bringing even more snow and rain across very similar areas, but a little further east with that heavy snowfall footprint. The details are still out on this one, but again, something we will have to keep an eye on for, as that also is a concern. So as you can see, there is a lot of stuff to talk about, and even potentially another system developing after that. So yeah, just pure chaos. So now I want to briefly show you the snowfall amounts that the GFS shows, briefly because I still have the European model to show you, and then the ensembles, which will give us a better perspective. The GFS has been pretty darn consistent with this snowstorm, and you can see that a lot of the snow across the west in the U.S. side will be across the mountains, and maybe across some of the higher lying plains areas, the Yellowstone Plateau. But the main system snow will be across Saskatchewan and the Canadian side. Potentially, some of these areas could be picking up a foot, maybe even a foot and a half to 2 feet of snow. Now, the GFS has been pretty darn consistent with this for a good little bit here with the model runs. You can see the morning one was a little off, but the last two ones look almost identical. So it's finally getting in on that consistency. And now I want to show you some of the total accumulated precipitation, which we have more areas to talk about because the snow side is just 1/3 of the craziness going on. So we have the snow footprint in terms of rainfall, which will be, again, quite heavy. The west will also pick up quite a bit of rain, even the low-lying areas, or I should say especially the low-lying areas. You guys won't be seeing the form of snow. But even the areas that do see snow, you can see it's going to amount to quite a bit of total accumulated precipitation and rainfall. So that's good. It's going to result in some nice snowpack that will probably melt regardless, but it will provide relief for drought-stricken areas, which is most of the west at this point. Notice the southwest, again, potentially a very, very concerning bullseye of this model shows a foot of rain. I doubt that, but anywhere between 6 to 10 inches is possible across southern Arizona and Mexico into New Mexico. So yeah, that is very, 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 very concerning, especially with the mountainous areas. That could be a potential disaster waiting to happen. Hopefully it doesn't occur. And then notice across the northeast, we see very heavy rainfall amounts. Not as concerning, but just more of a nuisance and potentially some flooding, as still some of those amounts, especially if they move further onshore, could reach into the 6-inch range. Now I want to show you the European model, and I'll show it a lot more briefly. The reason is the GFS, if you recall in yesterday's video, there was the GFS and the European model. Which one will be more right? And I pointed out my evidence as to why I believe the European model was not as likely to be accurate as a GFS. And that happened, and I'll show you that in just a second. But firstly, notice that it's very similar what the GFS was showing. We have the surge of moisture across the southwest, the developing nor'easter, again, the beginning stages of it across the southeastern United States there. And we have that northern piece arriving around around Friday into early Saturday, so a little bit later than the GFS, according to the European here. But notice that yesterday it kind of just coalesced this blob into not a snowstorm, and it didn't coalesce it. I used the wrong word there. It just transported that blob across, and there was a little bit of snow, a little bit of rain, no actual system. In this most recent model run from the European today, you can see that it definitely shows a system with a lot of rain, a lot of snow, and it's actually very similar to the GFS. So again, that's kind of what we saw yesterday, what was going to happen. And you can see that we have a lot of snow across Saskatchewan. Again, potentially a lot of rain across Manitoba, and maybe even some snow from the wraparound of that. It also shows a very, very high amount of rainfall across the southwest and that nor'easter across the northeast, which will be absolutely delivering tons of rainfall for those areas. So let's take a quick look at the total accumulated precipitation, and you can see the European doesn't show as much rain for the southwest, shows actually more for the northeast, and roughly around the same for the northwestern United States. So the last thing I want to show you now are the ensembles. So this is going to give us a lot better picture, especially since this system is still kind of far out, but more importantly because the models are still in disagreement about this system. So this is going to give us a greater look at the snowfall projection from these models and a more average look. If you don't know what an ensemble is, if you have a musical ensemble, it's usually a group of instruments, a wide variety of instruments. It's kind of the same thing here with the weather models. We have a wide variety of models from a model family, And this gives us an average look at what all these models show, because some of them are crazy. Some of them show potentially 4 or 5 feet, while some of them show nothing, right? So it gives us a nice average look. And if you recall from yesterday's video, the EPS, the European family, showed something like this. There was no sign of a system across central Saskatchewan. There was sign of some precipitation, but nothing cohesive. As we got towards midnight, the midnight model run, so the run after I recorded this video, you could see we started seeing a track that was more significant and also just more cohesive, and that trend has continued with the most recent model run. So I just showed you the EPS, the European Ensemble, and now I'm going to show you the GFS. If you recall from yesterday's video, this looks similar because this is the model run I showed you. That was the most recent model run at that point of recording the video, and you can see it already showed a much more of a cohesive track than the European. And then funny enough, over the next 2 model runs, the GFS kind of fell apart more and didn't really show as much of a cohesive system, while the European kind of did the exact opposite. So for a while it looked like the GFS might be actually falling in line with the European, and then the European was falling in line with the GFS, so both at once. But by today, the new model run of the GFS, you can see that the model's kind of really locked in on a storm track across southern Saskatchewan, almost a little unrealistically, because it went from nothing to a really kind of almost a very defined storm track there. So now the most recent model run is kind of more realistic, where it shows, again, a further narrowing in, further showing increase of heavy snowfall amounts, and a wider storm track, because we still don't know where this exactly will set up. But you can see that the GFS and European are pretty much showing very similar things at this point, and we will continue tracking the details of this as we get closer. But at least the question is resolved whether or not we will be seeing a system of any significance, because now it seems very likely that we will be. The exact strength is still under question, and again, where exactly it will hit also. So that is basically it for today's video. Hope you enjoyed, hope you learned something new, and I'll catch you all on the next episode. See ya. Bye.